Hello,
Hello,
hello.
good
Good
morning, good
morning.
evening,
Hi
good
there,
afternoon,
people.
wherever you are.
I hope you are all here, even though we changed our schedule a bit and we're streaming on a Friday, which is very, very unusual for us. But we also have an unusual guest today. His name is David Price, and he will be showing us a lot of things that we haven't seen in our show before. David, could you please tell our audience who you are and what you do?
Hi, I'm David Price, and I'm the business development manager actually for a UK-based science communication company called Science Made Simple. And we work around the UK, we work around Europe a lot, we work around the world a lot. And we have, maybe the best way to describe what we do, we have 3 mission statements. And that is to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers. Great. To act as a translation service for the public, meaning to increase the impact of science, technology, and engineering in popular culture, within popular culture. That is, I tend to just spend a lot of time doing that. And the third one is to increase the quantity and quality of dissemination within the scientific research community. Everything we do touches at least one of those things. And my specialism, more about me, if you like, my specialism is this hard to define thing that we'll be talking a lot about today called science busking.
Well, you already said it's hard to define, but of course, now we want a definition of some kind. What is it?
Okay. Now, there's a story here already because I am a veteran of failed funding applications where organizations say, "Oh, David, Science Made Simple, we love your projected aims, but we don't understand what you do, so we can't give you the money." And so what is science busking? Okay, well, street performers, if you think about it, these amazing people who attract, hold, and inspire audiences to such an extent that they're prepared to give them money at the end of the audience, give these people money. And I'm not the only person, we're not the only company who for a while have thought, isn't that a really, really interesting skill set that we could take and, if you like, attach science to it, to those techniques, to better approach and attract and hold and engage audiences with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. To save me saying that lots of times, in future I'll just call it STEM. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. That's, in a nutshell, that's what science busking is. But it's like the funders say, okay, David, yeah, but what does that actually mean? So I brought along a bunch of demonstrations to try and get that message over, so we can talk about it during this session. And where should we go? Right. Okay. For this first one, sometimes if you can make your demonstrations out of just out of the human body, then you don't need any props or carry anything with you. You can just use the human body as an example. That's what we're going to do now. So what I want you to do, give yourself a little bit of space. Darko, you will struggle to do this.
Me too, actually.
So you put one finger out in front of you, one finger out behind you, and what you've got to do is bring your back finger over and touch the tip of your front finger, and try and do that 4 times. We'll do it together. So here we go. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Beautifully done, fantastically done. I bet lots of you did 4 out of 4 that are very near to that. This time we're going to do it again. with a slight difference. We're going to do it with our eyes closed.
Oh my.
Jacko, definitely don't try it this time. Okay, here we go. Eyes closed. 4 attempts, and here we go. 1.
Woo.
And that was a hit from myself. And 2. Oh, a miss. And 3. Oh, a bang on hit. And 1 more. And 4. Yes. You open your eyes, and I got 3 out of 4 there, and I bet lots of you got, some of you got 4 out of 4. Even if you got 1 out of 4 or none out of 4, it doesn't matter. Your body knows, our bodies and our brains and our nervous system know roughly, approximately, where one part of our body is compared to another part of our body. It's got a fantastic name in science. It's called proprioception. Don't ask me how to spell that. I can never do it. But it's called proprioception, this sort of force field, this spatial awareness that we have around our body. And you use it every time you scratch your nose. I can show you that we use it, because close your eyes again, put 1 finger in front of your face. Now, without hitting anything, I want you to move that finger around as fast as you can, up and down, side to side. So 3, 2, 1, go. Move it around, backwards and forwards, up and down, in and out, around and around, side to side, all of that, and then touch your nose. Open your eyes, and you've found your nose. Proprioception exists.
That's amazing. Now I know what to blame when I bump into stuff.
and it's that idea of using humor and spectacle and performance skills and jeopardy, that hard to define thing which I tend to think of as nice risk, a risk that's going to interest you but not hurt you. And bringing all the and street performers are amazing. They are the masters of doing that sort of thing. And we thought, well, why can't we attach science to that, attach STEM to that? Yeah.
That's great. How do people react normally? Because I feel more awake now. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, because in effect, another way to answer that question the long way around. So I'm a street performer, but I don't juggle. I don't do magic. I only use STEM, and it's very natural, I think, for the public at some point to think you're trying to sell them something, and that's absolutely fair enough. And it's true that you in street situations where you're working with itinerant audiences, that's if you like window shoppers, people who are wandering around with no specific aim, people will first of all assume that you're trying to sell them something. And what I try and do as quickly as I can in the routine is this is absolutely free. The only thing we're trying to sell you is a love and a fascination with STEM. And very often when we train researchers and science center staff to do this sort of thing as well, with my other hat on, I'm a trainer in these skills. Then it was a great idea if they come logoed in some way, so the public know straight away that, oh, this belongs to this particular science center or this particular university, and that's a good shorthand to acclimatize the public to what we're doing. Yeah.
Do kids and adults react differently? Who's your target audience really here?
Yeah, that's a really good. Thanks for asking that. I'm very, very rarely asked that question, and that is something I'm really quite passionate about. It's everybody. It's whether you're 4 or whether you're 400. Because science, STEM belongs genuinely to everybody, and there is no distinction. And often, and of course, a lot of what we do is aimed at younger people. But that is not to say at all that we don't want and require, in a way, help from adults as well. It's a funny thing. In my routines, and you'll see a lot of street performers, they don't tend to pick children as their first volunteers. Because if you pick a child, first of all, then every adult will mentally take a step back, or very often, very, very often, and sort of think, oh, right, okay, we'll push the children forward. This is a child event. And in the nicest possible way, I try to fight against that. And I nearly always pick adults as my volunteers, at least the first volunteers, just as a little example that, look, this is for all of us, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So today you have a lot of adults watching you, I think. So it's a good message to send when they see something like that happening in the street. It's not just for kids. You're free
it,
to
it,
join.
yeah. I think it's, people often ask me, okay, well, why, what does street performance have to offer communicating science? And there's a problem in society. I think it's a very well understood problem, but nonetheless it's still there, and that is the people who generally go to science centers, people who go to science events and all sorts of science related things, well, those children, those parents, those colleagues, those mothers and fathers, grandfathers and grandmothers, friends, they already know the value of STEM in our lives. That this increasingly scientific world we live in now, and wow, this is nothing to how we're going to live in the future. And they understand that and see the value of that, you know. But there's a whole big chunk of society who does not see that, who for physical, political, financial, social, economic reasons don't see science as part of their lives, you know. And what about them? Don't they deserve a share in our scientific world? Well, lots of us think that they do. And science busking's great strength is that it can take everyday materials and really can do accessible techniques and literally go anywhere. Go into those shopping centres of those communities or those community halls, and meet people and have a conversation with them. First of all, maybe about the science we've brought along, but then very quickly about the science that they're interested in, the science in their lives. And that's why, sorry, this is turning into a sermon. That's why we often use materials like balloons and oh God, I'm going to lock my ping pong. I've never done this before. And ping pong balls and paper cups, because if you make your demonstrations out of everyday materials, then at least in theory everybody can have a go at it. And that's what we want: participation and conversation through that participation. Yeah, long answer though, sorry.
Today, Darko is joining us from his car, which is kind of connected to the theme of, you know, being out in the streets, available to everyone.
Yeah, I hope you're not doing your performance while driving. I have a question for you, David. When you pick volunteers, you said you pick adults and children. Who has more fun? Children or the adults?
I think pound for pound, the adults, actually, when they've got over the shock of being volunteered, as it were, then I think it's the adults. And we're very open. I'm very open in my routines about, I'm deliberately picking you because science belongs to everybody, you know. So in that way, I try to disarm it a little bit. But yeah, I think the street performers are very, very, very good at choosing volunteers, and they're looking for slightly cheeky, slightly upbeat volunteers, you know, and the selection process of volunteers is absolutely fascinating, and they'll have a range of lovely little participative things to do. And let's say they get a volunteer, adult or child, and they're great, but they're maybe just a little not quite what they're looking for. So they'll have a great interaction with them, and finish, and a round of applause, and everything's great. And then, but what that street performer is doing is looking for that particular volunteer. Gold dust, they'd often call them, that special volunteer, that volunteer who's a little bit cheeky, who answers back. And when they find that volunteer, they'll keep them on stage for ages. Because for them, they know at the end of the day, that ends up with more people, and that means more money. For us, it means more people, more chance to pass on these lovely scientific messages. Yeah.
So you're looking for the sparkle.
You're looking for
So
that.
it's good to
And
be a
that's tricky
skeptical
thing to do.
volunteer in your performance.
That is a hard thing to do. Street performers, you know, they are. I watch agog, open mouthed, at how they do that so regularly. You know, and with the best will in the world, sometimes I can go through my whole set and I won't. And I will have still had a great time with the audience, but I wouldn't have found that particular person who I was maybe hoping to bump into. Yeah.
How did you get to this, David? It's quite a niche. Two things combined in a way that's quite unusual.
Right.
What got you to this?
Tell you a story about my 28-year career in science communication. So I worked in an amazing science centre. It still exists to this day. If you're ever in Manchester, this is near where I live, go and have a look at it. It's called the Museum of Science and Industry in Manchester. And it has, like lots of science centres, it has touring exhibitions that come and go through it. And sometimes they're really popular, really, really popular. And audiences, families end up queuing maybe for over an hour before they can get into this temporary exhibition. And we, as a team, I was a lead presenter in the museum. This is so long ago. I mean, you're talking the very late 1990s. And we didn't like that. This upset us that they had to queue for such a long time. And so we thought, well, why can't we leave our galleries and come and start talking to these queues and entertaining them? And also saying to them, look, if you leave and go and look at another part of the museum and come back in an hour's time, this queue will have gone and you'll just walk straight in. So helping moving people around. And I started using little routines, tiny routines. Proprioception was one of them. The one we just tried was one of them. Just to break the ice between myself and the public. And my colleagues started noticing this and saying, oh, David, you're quite good at that. Did you notice that it wasn't just the family you were talking to, but the families on either side started listening? You were gathering an audience there. You want to stick with that. You want to run with that, David, that you've got something there. And even then, I'd always loved street performers. So I was copying what street performers do. And then I started attending science festivals as a professional, science conferences, science communication conferences as a professional science communicator. And the people at the conferences, people who I still know to this day, was, oh God, David, that's something that you want to build on that. You've got something there. And from those small beginnings, you learn and you try things out and you practice. And then rather wonderfully, I won a scholarship. I won a scholarship to attend the World Street Performance Championships. If you ever get a chance to go to it, the one I think it travels around the world a bit, but I always attend it when it rocks up, or I used to attend it when it rocks up in Dublin, in a park called Marion Park in Dublin in Southern Ireland. If you ever get a chance to go to it, go to it. It changed my life. I have never been quite the same since. So I turn up to the World Street Performance Championships, and I got a pass really to live and work with all of these incredible street performers from around the world and find out how they work. And it gave me a front seat in every one of in any of the sets that I wanted to go. I could just walk to the front. And the very first set I saw, so I'll try and set the picture for you. So I walk to this street set, and there's a guy, and he's got lots of cushions and things on the floor, and he's in a white cap, and he's talking to people. And I thought, oh, he must be a street performer. No, he actually came third in the overall competition. He was an Australian guy. This amazing balance act, incredible balance act. And I thought, right, I'll stick here and I'll see just how he attracts audiences. And so I photographed him. And then 8 minutes later, I photographed him again. And 8 minutes later, there were upwards of 1,500 people around him. He'd managed to attract 1,500 people, 1,500 to 2,000 people. Now, some people have said, okay, David, but it was the World Championships. There were people milling around waiting for performances. And that's true. That's true. Even so, 1,500 people in 8 minutes. It's incredible. And it blew me away. And I to this day, I struggle to put it into words, just what an effect seeing that. And I was wandering around these performances and going to the front of audiences of upwards of 3,000 people that they'd attracted. And then and now, I think that it's a skill set that science communicators ignore at our peril. You know, it's by no means is it the only way of doing things. No chance at all. I'd never dream of saying that, but it's a very useful skill set amongst other skill sets. You know, so there was the guy who came second, who I got to know a little bit, and his whole act was sitting on a table, preparing food with his feet, and then getting volunteers to eat the food. 3,000 people glued to everything he did. You know, whilst volunteers ate these odd sandwiches that he was preparing with his feet. And like I say, if somebody can do that, then those attracting and conversational and inspirational skills are worth looking at for, you know, in terms of increasing there's this phrase that science communicators use a lot now, summing up the overall bunch of interactions between people and science. It's called science capital, trying to increase the science capital of our population. And I think street performance skills can play maybe a small but still a very useful role within that. Yeah.
What did you learn there? What is the most important skill to gather enough people to be seen and heard, like name our shows,
the funny thing about
hear what you have to say?
The funny thing about it, Erko, is when you break those skills down, they're really simple, accessible skills. They're not difficult skills at all. It's eye contact. It's body language. It's speed of delivery, vocal emphasis, things. It's actually also hugely a really important one is listening to your audience, keying off what your audience tells you about them, about themselves. And that listening is the holistic version of listening. So not just their voices, but how they look, how they act, what they do. But they're really simple skills. And the difference between us and them is that they've practiced them for 20 odd years. And they've become ultimately good at making those rather simple things work incredibly well. But the payoff to that is there's nothing to stop us dipping into those skills and using them ourselves and getting hopefully pretty good at them ourselves. Yep. It's one of my favorite things about the world of street performers is what they do is really accessible. Anybody can use those skills. Okay, maybe not to quite the degree that they do, although maybe, but nonetheless, in essence, they are really, really accessible.
As a trainer, do you get trainees who are very shy or reluctant to engage with the audiences, and how do you deal with that?
Oh yeah, most of our trainees, because they probably won't have done street performance stuff before, come to the course in a state of terror. Oh my God, you expect me to go out there and attract and hold an audience? But honestly, if you free yourself up, it's a bit easier than it sounds. It's not an impossible. It's not, it's not that we're expecting our trainees to go out there and attract 1,500 people, or not at all, in no way, shape, or form. It's what we're hoping is that they go out there and they get a feel for those street performance skills in a whole day, maybe 5 or 6, 7 or 8 interactions with families or small groups. Maybe if they're feeling up for it, they try to increase the number of people who they're talking to from 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 or 6, 7 or 8, something like that. And that they from me as a trainer, I know how insanely addictive this form of science communication becomes. It's such an addictive thing. And what I'm hoping is I'm giving those people a chance through that day in a very gentle way to get addicted as well, to have those positive interactions, to think, oh, hey, that worked. I can see the potential for that with my science as well, for that thought process to go with them. So in no way, shape or form, that would be utterly terrifying, to go out there and attract an audience cold, as it were. So we deliberately, the trainings we do, I think the best training we offer really is the 2-day package, where day 1 is theory and practice, where we're practicing stuff. Maybe the people have brought along their own material that they want to busk with, and that's fantastic. And then we work with them to get that as good as we can, really. And then on the second day, we're out on the streets. But we deliberately pick somewhere with very, very heavy footfall. So we know there's going to be lots of transient audiences around, and we pick those spaces very carefully. With the organizations who we're working with, very often science centers or university departments around in the UK, around the world. And then so it's a gentle introduction. And then we have a big break in the middle of the day and say, come on, then give me your worst. What were your feelings about that? And any thought, and then that gives the people time to reflect in little groups about how that morning went. And then those lessons from the morning we put into effect in a shorter session in the afternoon. So it's a gradual slope, if you like. Yeah.
And who typically takes the training?
Very varied over the years. It's been very varied. Mostly the 2 groups who I train mostly are staff who work in science centers. So science center staff, because their management teams want them to busk, literally, to go, within their communities. And then the other group is research groups in universities, who have maybe a particular bit of science, a particular project that they want to get out there in the public domain. Those are the main 2. I think a subsidiary set, museum curators, are often very, very interested in this. Maybe even not in terms of science, but in terms of doing the same thing with their collections, whatever their collections might be, whatever those collections might be. So we get a regular sprinkling of that. And also the social sciences are often fascinated by this, because what street performers are good at is a particular brand of communication theory, and social scientists often get interested in that as well.
Okay, that's quite a wide variety. I'm going to show anyone who might be part of these categories or really interested in exploring further what you do, the website.
Time, if you think, how about another example?
Let's do another example while we have the QR code up.
What is that?
It looks like a balloon.
It looks like a balloon. Now, you'd have got top marks for observation there had you said it's a red balloon, David. But it's a red balloon, right? And balloons are made out of
rubber.
Rubber. Some people call it latex. Ooh, I've gone all bright, haven't I?
Oh, there goes the sunshine.
There goes. Yes, Manchester has sunshine.
You were saying it was rainy, but it doesn't look like it.
That's some kind of a nuclear balloon.
Wow! Oh, but now I've got one side of my face. I'll put it back on. Right, yeah, I'll sit more at this angle. So yeah, a rubber balloon. Do you think using science, using STEM, we can get a mobile phone inside my balloon?
I don't think so.
Thank you for your skepticism. Skepticism always has a place in scientific endeavor. And for anybody who thought I can do it, then thank you for your faith in me. Here we go. Mobile phone inside a balloon using science. You see that? It says sail.
The balloon is inflated for the audio audience.
I was buying 5,000 balloons really cheap in a sale. I bought 5,000 balloons with sale written on them. Here we go. Mobile phone inside a balloon using science. 3, 2, 1. Aha! Look at that.
It's really happened.
It really happened. Also, and this is only for adult audiences, you might notice that my phone's grown a little penis as well. There you go. Street performers are sometimes a little bit cheeky. Do you want me to turn the phone around?
Please do.
Okay. You told me to turn the phone around. I just turned the phone around. Oh, you want me to turn the phone around?
It'd be nice.
Okay. There you go. I just turned the phone around.
Now it's got a nose.
You want to see the back? Do you want to see the back?
Yep.
There you go. That's the back. I bet you want me to move my hand. Do you want me to move my hand? If you want me to move my hand on 1, 2, 3, I want you to shout out as loud as you can, David, move your hand. 1, 2, 3.
David, move your hand.
Okay. I moved my hand. You told me to move my hand. I moved my hand. You see, in science, sometimes to get good data, you need to ask good questions. So if you were saying move this hand, that's
All right. We can see the sail.
Mobile phone inside a balloon. Almost. Although I'll show you. No, it's only fair that I show you how to do this. So rubber is made of long chain molecules, very elastic. So we're harnessing the elastic properties of a material that we call rubber. And we're applying a force with my muscles to the phone. 3. What you do essentially is you push the phone really hard as you let the air out of the balloon as fast as you can. 3, 2, 1. Mobile phone inside a balloon, almost. Using science. And this is what I was saying about the power of using everyday materials. Many people, not everybody, okay, but many people would have access to a balloon, and most people have got a phone. Although, academic warning here, if you're going to try this, do try this at home, but do it over something soft, first of all. It's very easy to drop your phone when you first practice that. So do it over your bed, do it over a sofa, do it on a nice soft lawn, something like that, first of all, until you get the hang of it.
Thanks, David. Our audio audiences will be very confused with some of the sounds there. So I'm inviting everyone to watch the YouTube clip. This website that I'm showing, Science Made.
I see another use for this. You can package the things that are on sale like this. And it will work.
Yeah, I mean, the other one that people almost inevitably end up doing is they put their fist inside a balloon. They enclose the whole hand inside a balloon. It works just as well like that, yeah. And you're not going to drop your hand, are you? So
Because of proprioception.
There you go. You see, already you've picked up a sciencey word. This is success. The philosophy of this, and there is sort of philosophy behind it, is that yes, people are going to pick up understanding about science, facts, and figures, if you like. But it goes beyond that. It goes to our middle mission. It goes back to our middle mission statement, really, where it's increasing the cultural impact of STEM within popular culture. So you don't just get it up here. You get it as an emotion that you carry around with you, and who can say how that might affect you? But maybe the next time you come to thinking about a scientific issue, then you're a little bit more predisposed to give science a chance. You're not that cautious of it, these sort of things. Because at the end of the day, the vast majority of people who I interact with are not going to become scientists and engineers. But we all live in societies where we've got to make decisions about scientific issues. So coming to those scientific issues with a little less fear and maybe hopefully a little bit more curiosity is a really powerful thing.
Do you see these sort of results? Do you have like a favorite reaction or a change after all these years of doing that? Something that people have commented or something you've noticed?
I think that working with, I suppose when I'm as a trainer, I often train pupils. The other group who I train, I think I've completely forgotten. I apologize to school pupils, is that I train pupils in these skills. And I can go back to those schools to do other things, other of our services, and see those skills still being used. There was a school in a part of the UK near a city called Durham. A school, fantastic, amazing school called Frammelgate School. And they were the first school in the UK, the first school in the world, actually, where I trained their pupils in these skills. And those skills, and that was so long ago. That was 2008. And that school still uses. They don't need me anymore, which is wonderful, because the pupils themselves started suggesting ideas. So we start schools and institutions off with a group of demonstrations that we know work and are pretty easy to perform. But then the pupils started to get really curious and go to their teachers and say, "Oh, can we try this demonstration? Can we try that?" They were feeding in their own science thoughts into the process, and they got so popular eventually that they were being hired by fetes and festivals in the Durham area, and the teachers had to be really careful that they weren't out of the classroom too long, which is fantastic. Which to me is is a beautiful thing. So seeing that evidence that these things have legacy as well. I was once working. One of the more maybe better known institutions where we've done this quite a few times is for the National Science Centre in Poland, Copernicus Science Centre in Warsaw. And one of the team leaders had done the training, the 2-day training, and he said, "Come and have a look at this, David." And we went into this storeroom, and it was absolutely full of duplicates of the things that we'd advocated them using. A whole storeroom crammed full of balloons and slinkies and ping pong balls. And so I nearly burst into tears, because it means that this stuff just doesn't happen in isolation. It actually has a legacy that carries on. I'm terrible for this. Remember, before you asked me, you said, "David, what about people who are a little bit nervous about busking?" And there was a particular example I wanted to talk about, and then I just went off on one, like I do. So there was a lady, and we'll call her Annetta, and we were doing there was a project, a wonderful project run in Zurich University called Biodiversity Means Lives. And essentially, researchers were given time included in their studies to design an element of street performance related to their research. And then they hired me for 4 years to come in to work with the researchers over 2 days and prepare them for their graduation. And their graduation was literally busking to the people within Zurich on a bank holiday when usually there's lots of people around. And there was one of these ladies, Annetta, and I thought, oh dear me, right, okay, this is interesting, because Annetta was fantastic, amazing lady, but she was really calm and really quite quiet. And I thought, how is she going to do with this? What's she going to do to make that first move to attract an audience? Because very often that can be the hardest thing, that first move towards people who've never met you before. And how do you get used to doing that? And she came up with such a brilliant idea. So she was studying red kite ecology. The bird, the red kite, very fork-tailed bird of prey.
I should,
pointy wings,
but I don't.
Hovering there in the sky. And there are lots of them in and around Zurich. And so what she'd done, she'd painted a picture. She was an artist in her spare time. She painted a picture and of red kite environments around Zurich. And in that picture, she hid 20 mice. 20 mice, tiny mice. And she'd just go up to people standing in a park, in a bus queue, and just say, "Spot the mice." Particularly if there are any children around. And of course, it becomes this incredible, I don't know, that book, Where's Wally? It becomes that Where's Wally game of children being slightly competitive. Oh, I can see one there. Oh, I can see one there. Oh, I can see one there. And then, of course, the adult standing behind them got involved as well. And they started to say, God, they missed that one over there. And through all of this lovely game, this allowed conversations about red kite ecology to come out with these people. Absolutely beautiful. And then, as well as that, as she's walking around, she was being asked at a regular basis, "Why are you walking around with this oil painting suspended from a rope around your neck?" And then that led to conversations about red kite ecology. But when the people realized that she had painted that picture, that a researcher, that a practicing scientist had painted that picture, it was things like, "What? But you're a scientist. You telling me that you have hobbies like everybody else?" that you live in the real world like everybody else, that you have hopes and fears like everybody else, that you are like us. Oh my God, I felt like praying to her. It was so, what an epiphany, what just such a powerful technique. And people, when people see me, this is a risk I run in a bowler hat and a red t-shirt, a spangly jacket, and doing all the street performance stuff. They think that they have to be like that, and that is not the case at all. This is just my reaction to the material that I use. And I know some incredible science street performers who are very calm, who do nothing but talk about a Rubik's Cube as they solve it. That lady's called Katie Steckel. She's amazing, mathematical busker. You don't have to have all the bells and whistles. These skills are a range of things that you can cherry pick what suits you and your science best. Yep.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people are intimidated by science, and we've had conversations ourselves on topics where people didn't ask any questions and such because they didn't know where to start. I think today we've confused them with the day, which is on us. Sorry about that, David, because
That's
normally we
okay.
go out on Thursdays, but we know that people are watching because we can see them. So if if you have your hands free, if you're not playing around with balloons, please say hi to us. Otherwise, you can always leave a comment under the recording. And we've had your website up for a while now, and you've explained a few things that you do. Could you just like summarize for us who could benefit from contacting you and who normally contacts you?
Yeah, usually it's the same people who we end up training. Very often, research groups within universities maybe have a particular piece of science that they want to get out there to the public, and very often we're contacted by them. Science centres wanting, not just for busking training, we offer a whole range of services for science centres around presenting in shows, general presenting on galleries, all these sorts of things. Most of science, if not all of Science Made Simple, pretty much come from working in either a university or a science centre background, or both, or both. The single biggest group who contact us are teachers in schools. And that's very often because of our shows. Sometimes schools pay for them themselves, science shows. Sometimes schools actually, we're doing a lot of this at the moment. There are organizations who fund us to go into schools for free or nearly for free, that sort of thing. So schools, community groups, home educators. Home educators is a group of people, children who aren't in schools, who we've worked with a lot in the past, and hopefully will in the future. If you go on the website and have a look, you'll see that you can see our motivations. It's split into three things: who we are, our motivations for what we do, and then what we do. And the shows and training sections in there. You can have a look at those at your own leisure, really. Those are the people who we speak to most of the time.
And if somebody like me in Basingstoke is watching this and thinking, I want these people in our streets, but I don't know who to talk to invite them, how does that work? Can people
if you go onto the website, you can find contact details there. If you want to contact me, then that is absolutely fine. You could put my email address. Should I put my email address in the chat?
Sure, why not?
Right, no, he says that was chat gone. Escape.
It's down here.
Yes, chat. Got it. Yeah. Right.
And I'll copy it. Do city councils contact you?
They do. UK David at sciencemadesimple.co.uk. There we go.
All right, let me copy that into the chat.
City councils and science festivals use a lot, very often in a little bit of a trailblazer capacity. So if they've got an event or a festival that's coming up, then we will go into a local town hall square, shopping mall, and as well as doing the busking and attracting audiences, then we can big up, and sometimes the staff will attend with us to talk about the actual festival, so we can give that festival, that event, a little bit of presence within the town nearest to it. Yeah, we've done quite a bit of that in the past, and we're not just we are UK based, but in actual fact we work a lot all over the world. In end of next week, I'll be off to Poland again, to Katowice, for there's a research presenting competition called FameLab, and I'm one of the masterclass trainers for FameLab. So I'll be going out to Poland for 2 days to train researchers over there, and then it's the finals straight away. So we do genuinely. I think we've visited over 70 countries or something like that, interacted with almost 2 million people in the 20 odd years we've been going.
Those are some great numbers. Have you been to Croatia?
Have we been to Croatia? Yes, we have been to Croatia. We have not with the busking so much, but we have a non-verbal. We had, sadly, we no longer have it, but we had a non-verbal science show called Visualize, all about the look of science, but no words at all. Completely done by our 2 resident science clowns, Gaz Smith and Debbie Sirup. And that was funded by the British Council to travel a lot around sort of southeastern Europe. Croatia was one of the places it visited. Yeah.
That's cool. We hope to see you here again. Because most of our audiences are Croatian, so if they contact you, maybe you'll be at the seaside, maybe in the capital, who knows?
Yeah.
We have this issue, I don't know if that's something that you've noticed as well, and that is part of it, where most of the things that happen culturally are kind of in the center or in the capital or around it. So a lot of small towns get neglected and don't get to see these cool things. Is that something you think of and try to go to these areas where?
Absolutely. I mean, we do a fair amount of work in London, will be our equivalent, but we also do a huge amount of work in tiny towns and villages around the UK as well. I mean, one of the things that busking has really going for it is its portability. It can go somewhere really quite on a bus, in a car, on a train, in a plane. It can move around. Oh yeah, very much so. One of the things that universities and science centers and museums actually sometimes find of value with this sort of thing is that it's something that they can offer their communities. It's something relatively cheap, relatively high impact, that they can use to start conversations with their local communities. First of all, going in and maybe doing a busking session in a community hall and riffing off that a bit and asking questions around, okay, well, you've just seen this, but what science are you interested in? And then maybe going to the local university and getting a researcher in that subject to come in and talk to them about that. And also just saying about, well, you've seen our people do that busking. Might you like to do some of that to your community, and we'll help train you up? And it's making that link between that community and that institution. It's forging that link. And once those links are made, then who knows where they go.
Connection can't have a negative effect, I suppose. It's just sharing information and inspiration.
Connection. I think it's time for another example. I'm feeling another example. Come on. Now, you can do this, wonderful people. You can do this sitting down. I'm going to do it standing up. You can do it sitting down. It's probably easier standing up, but you can definitely do it sitting down as well. So here we go. I'll move and try and get myself so you can see me. Excellent. Right. What you're going to do is put your index finger out in front of you, one of your pointy fingers out in front of you. And you're going to write your name, your first name, in capital letters with that finger. So I'm David, so I'm going to say David. I'm going to spell David. Okay, go. And some of us have longer names and shorter names. Beautifully done. Other index finger, other pointy finger. Go.
Darko, I hope you're not doing this.
Now it gets a little trickier. I want you to do it with one of your big toes. There's no need to put your big toe on screen. One of your big toes. Go. Nobody fell over. Excellent. Your other big toe. Go.
I'm actually doing this just for the record.
Over the years, it's improved my balance. No end. Standing on one leg so much. Beautiful. And now the only technical bit, and I suppose for the people who are sitting down, you can do this where you are. For those of you standing up, I want you to turn 180 degrees so you're facing the other way.
I'm not sure if I want to show the back of my hair.
There we go. And now you're going to write your name in capital letters with your bottom. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
David, this is definitely a first for us.
This is good. This is good.
You've got the moves. Very smooth.
No, you cannot deny. There's no use denying it because I saw you and heard you doing it. You communicated something with your bottom there, didn't you? And we aren't the only animals who do that. There are other animals. What about the humble honeybee? And the honeybee waggle dance. Now, they're not spelling each other's names as far as we know, but that's a mathematical code. So bees can communicate to each other where to go to get the best nectar, where to go to find the best flowers. Sometimes if you dance your science, you don't just get it up here in your head. You carry it around in your heart as a positive emotional experience, hopefully maybe for the rest of your life. These sort of things can affect people. They really can. We really believe that they can.
Especially those who haven't stretched in a while. That's what I'm feeling right now. Thank you for that, David. It's been really inspiring and fun.
No worries. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Is there something that we haven't asked you that you would like to share for the end? Maybe something you hoped for from the audience?
Well, something I'm often asked, actually, in these trainings is, why aren't street performers continually being arrested?
Okay.
Well, and it's a really good question. And first time I was asked it, it really made me pause. And I went and did a research. And it's the legal status, which is absolutely fascinating. Or at least I find it fascinating. Because if you were trying to sell something, then you'd need a trading license. But what street performers do isn't considered in law trying to sell something. What you're doing as a street performer, those who ask for money, that is, those who ask for money, they're asking for a donation. It's a donation, it's not a service. And because of that, you often don't need a trading license. I mean, you can get arrested for all sorts of other reasons. I've never been arrested. It's never come anywhere near. I have been moved on by the police a few times. Yeah. Always check your permissions. This is the one of the golden rules. A story. I was busking in London, in a very famous park in London called Green Park. And I had got permission from London City Council, and they said, "No worries, David. As long as you're not an obstruction to the public highway, go for it." But they didn't tell me that I needed permission from the Royal Parks Commission as well. Nobody told me. So I got there. I was halfway through my routine, and the police came and took me away in the car, and took me around the corner, and said, look, we're not going to charge you with anything, but don't do that again. You need permission from the Royal Parks Commission. So it's worth it, and it's something that if we're doing trainings, then we're always going to the local authority and making sure that people aren't going to be moved on from what they're doing. Worth remembering. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to stress. Well, connected to that, have you ever had issues with members of the audience who might be drunk or
under the
hostile?
influence of drugs?
Yeah.
Things like that. Very, very rarely. I mean, incredibly rarely. I have never, nor do I know of any other street performing scientists. There aren't many of us, but there are one or two who've had a difficulty with that. And that's not to say that it can't happen, because it does happen to street performers. But I think it's a really, really rare event. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't include that as part of your training, like how to deal with these kinds of difficult situations?
Yes, we do. We do, in terms of essentially, we are playing. Well, we are the nice guys. We are the nice people, and it's just being in such a situation, being incredibly calm, and upbeat, and there are lots of people around you as well, which is always the youth. This isn't really going to happen in isolation. Or shouldn't we also, particularly for people who are starting, we'd never ask them to do this on their own. So they're always in pairs. So there's always two of you there to handle any eventualities. And you'd think, I've been doing this training with certain, for the longest, with researchers for the longest, and so it's 20 odd years now, really, and we've never really had a problem with that. We have met some good-natured, drunkish people, but it's been okay. We've had a good conversation with them, and they've moved on, and then things were fine. Yeah. So it potentially does happen. We do have a think about it in the trainings, but in actual practice, it is like vanishingly rare.
That's quite nice to hear, actually. So people are generally nice to you, and they react very positively, and your message comes across, and you spread the good vibes. And I think we've had that experience here today as well. We feel very sorry for some of the audio listeners who might not see the full show. So please do watch the video and enjoy David's. I think the wiggles have been my favorite part.
One of my favorites.
This is what Seen and Heard is all about making things demystified and simpler, and trying to connect with people in any way possible. And I think science is one of those big ones where people go, too complicated for me. This is for the elites. This is for the smart ones and whatever. And that's absolutely not true. So thank you for demonstrating that and for sharing that message.
No worries. It was absolutely a pleasure appearing with you. Really, really pleasant experience from beginning to end.
Great.
A very professional setup.
Professional and moving. I don't know if Darko can say his goodbyes or if he's unable to use the mic?
I'm able, but I'm not sure about internet connection or overheating my
We can hear
phone.
you.
So this was a problem all the time. But I'll need to also look at the whole show on video to enjoy it. Thank you so much, David, for being here and being such a good sport. I wasn't really there to communicate much, but I really love what I saw. So
Thank you, Dirk. Cheers.
And thank you to the silent audiences. We hope for some comments later on. Bye.
Okay, bye, people. Bye bye.